Kaylin. How are you?
I'm doing okay.
Good. So I wanted to start with a check-in and just ask you about a high point this week and a lower point this week.
Okay, so a high point was when I terminated with a client, which was a good thing because I've been watching her and working with her for 3 years, and so she came to me kind of rock bottom and worked, and so it was really kind of fascinating and a feeling of accomplishment of when I was able to kind of discharge her at the end and watch her grow and become someone who she's always wanted to be. So now she has a job, she has her own house, she's able to kind of function in society on a level that works for her. And then a down was probably the client that we discussed last week. She decided not to come back.
Okay. So going back to the high point, did you feel any kind of grief about her being discharged or anything like that?
No, I think it was more kind of happy for her because it was the first time I was able to see a client all the way through and discharge her with a feeling of kind of like accomplishment. So I felt good.
Okay. And you feel like she was ready to
Yeah.
go?
Mhm.
Okay. And so going back to the low point, last week you brought up this client, Christina, that you did the intake with, and then you called her to make another appointment, and she said that she didn't want to come back.
Yes.
And you brought that up to me last week, and I sort of want to revisit how I responded to that last week. So what I said was, she probably isn't ready to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
She might not be interested in changing right now, and you should just write a letter to her and let her know that the services are available in the future if she wants to come back in.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really get your input about what you felt was the right thing to do. So I felt like I rushed through that.
Yeah, I guess I felt like a little bit like my feelings weren't they weren't like talked about and worked through or even asked about. I just kind of felt like we rushed through it and it wasn't really what I wanted to do, and I felt like it wasn't giving my client everything that she deserved.
Okay. So when you say your feelings about it, can you think of like the predominant feelings that you felt about that situation?
Embarrassed, I guess, and a little concerned, because I guess I didn't like how the intake went, and I felt like if the intake went better, then our rapport might have been a little bit better, and she might have come back.
Okay. So going back to the feeling of embarrassed
Mm-hmm.
or embarrassment, what do you mean by that?
I guess because I was really, my self-conscious level kind of went down a lot. Or up. I was up.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you were feeling self-conscious
Yeah.
about, what were you feeling self-conscious about exactly?
That, I guess before I was working with her, I was really proud of myself and thought I was really doing well in the field, and then as soon as she decided not to come back, I felt like it was my fault and I wasn't doing what I should be doing to help her, which was evident by her not coming back.
Okay. So the level of confidence is sort of been reduced since that incident,
Yeah.
or since that situation?
Yeah.
Okay. And you were feeling pretty confident before in
Mm-hmm.
your therapeutic relationships and
Yes.
the way things were progressing with other clients.
Mm-hmm.
And so going back to the intake, you said that you thought that if the intake went better, that it may have changed the trajectory of what happened with your relationship.
I feel that way.
Okay. So let's start from the beginning of the intake. How did the intake start off?
So she showed up 15 minutes late, and I had a session right after that one, so it was a very rushed kind of first session with her because it was a psychosocial intake. So it was a lot of factual information, couldn't really get down to the root of things, and I could tell she really wanted to talk about things, but because we only had 45 minutes, I had to kind of do fact after fact and kind of like boom, 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 get her out of there, kind of see you later. So I could tell that she felt a little, like I felt, I guess, a little like her feelings weren't
And was it sort of this sense that there wasn't enough time to get everything in?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we only had 45 minutes.
And during the psychosocial assessment, were you able to formulate any kind of presenting problem, like the main problem? Or?
No, because I wasn't really able to process it, because like I said, we were just kind of hitting everything on the paper in the form and trying to move her through it, because there's a lot to go through.
So in the past, I've seen that during your intakes, you will go back after the intake and summarize what was kind of talked about, and then ask the client if they felt they got out what they needed to get out of the intake. And was that something that happened?
I mean, no. I mean, I guess briefly, but I would probably say no. It wasn't what I wanted it to be.
Okay.
Cause we, like I said, 45 minutes. So we maybe had like 2 minutes to kind of reflect.
Mm-hmm. And you think in the future, could it be helpful to just think about that, about going back and summarizing as much as you can?
Yeah, I mean, I usually do that. 'Cause usually with an hour time, I'll have, 10, 15 minutes to kind of talk about how this process was for her, if any emotions came up, and kind of use that to form goals and stuff.
Right. Okay, so moving forward, is there anything that you can think that you could do differently with other intakes? That say you have 30 minutes to do an intake. Is there anything that you derive from this process that you might take into the next?
I guess not make the psychosocial assessment my priority in the session, of maybe putting it aside and doing half that session, half next time, and letting her know that because you showed up 15 minutes late, we had this much time, and because of this, we're not going to have a lot of time to kind of go deep into things.
Okay. And then also, I mean, it sounds like another thing is kind of like boundary setting, making clear roles, of what you're going to do and what she's going to do, as much as you can in that short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, where is your confidence level now?
I guess it's a little bit better now that we've been able to kind of talk about it, because I realized that it wasn't really all my skill set that caused her not to come. It was maybe the environmental kind of aspect of everything. The time restraint of her coming in, and then maybe my focus on the psychosocial assessment as well.
Yeah, so having that flexibility is a good thing that it sounds like is really helpful. Is kind of, and the psychosocial assessment can be completed throughout the process. It doesn't need to all be done that first session. But that's typically what we do here. But it is okay to sort of relax on certain things, just in case of times like that you don't have enough time.
Yeah.
And so the other thing I wanted to ask about is, has there ever been another time when you've had a limited amount of time but the intake went a better way than this one?
Yeah, I guess another client, she was in a crisis, so we kind of focused on her crisis. When her first session, she came in rather than doing the psychosocial assessment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, and is that something that you feel could work with other people, that kind of approach?
I mean, I guess it depends on the situation they're coming in. If I could tell that they really have something they want to talk about, yeah, I can try to be more flexible and kind of put the psychosocial aside.
Okay. And that is kind of it can be a common occurrence sometimes, is people just going to the intake and then not ever coming back in. And there's different reasons why that happens, and it certainly has happened to me, and I've felt pretty disappointed about it and have had to process that feeling of being inadequate, or feeling like it was something I did. Maybe I gave off some kind of message that they weren't welcome or something like that. So one important aspect of this, when we have a reduction in confidence, is to do things that rebuild the confidence or allow time for self-reflection, like self-care and that kind of thing. So I just want to check in with you about how you're re-energizing yourself.
I do a lot of running. I go to the gym every day and try to release my stress and anxiety there. And I do a lot of bubble baths. I just try to spend time outside with my dog and in the sun, soaking it up.
Mm-hmm. And how do you know that you've re-energized?
I feel happier. I feel more willing to take on more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the challenges feel more doable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then I don't have the skills or I don't have what I need.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything else that you can think of that you'd like to get out of supervision?
Maybe some more skills on how to balance the psychosocial assessment with like crisis. Like if a client comes in and really wants to talk about something. So maybe like skills on how to maneuver that.
So managing the sessions,
Yeah.
like the time management
Mhm.
within the sessions?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a really interesting way to approach it because that is something that a lot of social workers struggle with.
Mhm.
Because it's like, what is the most important thing that I need to do?
Yeah.
I need to do this certain psychosocial assessment or depression scale because of the agency policy or because of that, but I also need to deal with this presenting crisis. So that's something to keep in mind for next week, and I will make sure to visit that next week.
Great.
So is there anything else that you can think of right now? Okay, well if you have any questions or anything throughout the week, just let me know.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks.